Hello. In this video, I will be showing you how to code in Scratch for absolute beginners, but there are other things you will need to know about, such as the Add a Sprite tab, the Add a Backdrop tab, all of these tabs, and then the Costumes and Sound tab. So, we'll start with the Costumes tab. When you open up the Costumes tab, you get this little editor screen, which you can select stuff and delete it. You can flip it horizontal, you can flip it vertical, you can make it go to the back layer, you can make it go to the front layer, you can add some text, you can do so many things. You can fill something with purple, and then you have another sprite if you have the cat. There's a trash can if you want to delete that, and then you can choose a costume or you can paint a costume. This is the same as the choose a costume. Then there's the paint. There's a surprise, which picks a completely random one. So I just got a frog. And then the next final button is upload a costume, which when you click opens up a Windows screen that lets you pick one of your images. And then there's the sounds tab, which lets you to play and edit sounds to go faster. You can make them go slower. You can make them louder, you can make them softer, you can mute it altogether, you can fade it in, and you can make it a robot sound. You can do so many things with that. You can copy a sound, you can paste a sound, you can copy to new, which will open up a new one, and you can select a part and delete it, you can rename it, and you get all of those options. You can also choose upload, record, and surprise with sounds. And then you will also have a button down here, which is the choose a sprite button, which was the same for the costumes one, except instead of adding it into the same one, it will create a new tab here. So let's choose, we'll do the basketball. So it'll open up a basketball, and this will move separately from your cat. Now the next thing you need to know is the backdrops tab, which lets you do the same. You can choose a backdrop, you can paint a backdrop, you can have it surprise you with a backdrop, and you can upload a backdrop. So if we were to choose a backdrop, you get all these screens with fantasy, music, sports, outdoors, indoors, space, underwater, and patterns. I'm going to choose the stripes, and that gives you a nice little background that you're not able to move, so it's just a little background for your game to add atmosphere and more fun to the game. And then this little screen right here that you will see for every sprite has the name of the sprite, which you can change to anything you want. So if we were to call this basketball 20, then it will rename it to basketball 20, and it will save that. You can name this to sprite 10 or anything, and it will save it like that. The X position is its position on the horizontal axis, which is this way. The way you can remember the horizontal way is think of a horizon. It's horizontal. And then you also have the y-axis, which is your up and down axis. So just remember it as opposite from horizontal. And it also has these little arrows here to remind you. You can change this to 0 if you want to center it. You can change the other one to 0 to have it perfectly centered. You can do that for all of them. And then the other things are show and hide. So if we were to go in our cat and we wanted to hide it, then it would just hide like that, and then you can re-show it just like that. You can make the size smaller, like 50, and it will shrink down. You can make it bigger, like 200, and it will grow. And then in the basketball, let's make this 500, and it gets a little bigger. And then the final tab is the direction it points in. So when you click on this, you can either backspace it or you can keep it like that. But there is also this super easy way of choosing this. So it'll just rotate it as you spin this, and it points in which direction it is. The direction 90 is pointing straight to the right, which is the default position of all your sprites. But you could also make it 180 to point straight down like that. And then yeah, you could just keep it like that, and it will save just like that. Now, for all of the actual code tabs, you have a motion block which makes your sprite move. This is pointed down, so it will move down. If you point it this way, it will move that way. And then you'll have the turn one, which is going to turn it to the side. This turn one, turn it to the left. You have go to a random position, going to put it in a random spot. And you could also have it go to mouse pointer, which the mouse pointer is over here. So if we moved it down, clicked it, it would try to go there. We have go to a specified spot. You could have it go to 0, 0, and then it will go there. And then you have glide 1 second to random position. You could also glide 1 second to mouse pointer, and glide 1 second to sprite 10, which is that sprite. And it will center itself just like that. And then you have glide 1 second to a specified position, so 0, 0. If we were to move that and then click that, it would glide, but those are connected. So if we were to move that, click that, it will glide 1 second. If it's closer, it will be a little slower. If it's farther, it will be a little quicker. And then we have the direction block, which will point it in a specified direction, which let's do this. It will point in that direction. Point towards mouse pointer, which is going to point it towards that. You can point it towards sprite 10. And then you have change X by 10, which is going to move it forward. We have set X to 80, which will set it to 80, just like that. We have change Y by 10, which is the up. You could also make this a negative 10 to make it go down, just like that. And then there is also a set Y to specified spot. So -7, it will go just right there. And then we have an if on edge bounce block, which I will show more in a future video. But yeah, I will show this in a future video because it's a little more complicated. And then we have a set rotation style block, which is also a little more complicated, and I will show in a future video. We have X position, which shows its X position forever, just like that. We have the Y position, which can show its up and down. And then we have the direction it's pointed in. So if we were to spin this a bit, then it will change it to that. And it's very accurate with those decimals, which is also very useful. And then the next part is the looks tab, which you can say hello for 2 seconds. You can just say hello and it won't stop until you make it stop. You can think, which adds to those little dots right there, and then you can make it think forever. And then you can switch the costume to whichever you want. So if we were to duplicate this and then make it red, then it would switch it to that. So switch costume to basketball 2, and then you could switch it back to basketball. You could do the next costume, which infinitely changes it to the next one. Switch backdrop to stripes. I will do that in a bit more in a future video, same with the next backdrop. Change size by 10, which will make it bigger. You could also make this a negative. So -10 will make it smaller. Set size to 100%, which will make it tiny. Or you could set it back to 500 like we had before. And then we have change color effect by 25, which will change its color. And then there is also a whole tab of options down here, which I will explain more in a future video as well. You can set color effect to 0, which puts it back to red, or you could make it 100, which makes it that teal color. You could clear graphics effects, which will just clear all of this, so if we did that and cleared it, it would go back to that. There's the show button and the hide button, so it will hide, or you could re-show it. Go to front layer, and then you could also make this go to back, so it will be behind the cat. And then you could switch it back. You could go forward 1 layer, or you could go backward 1 layer, or you could go back forward. And then this shows the costume number it's on, the backdrop number, and the size. And then in sounds, you have play sounds, and this will play whatever sound you want. Start sound, stop all sounds, change pitch effect, and this also has pan left right effect, and then you could also choose that for this. Clear sound effects, which just stops all sounds. Change volume, set volume, and then it shows the volume. And then in events, we have a when the green flag clicked button. So when the green flag is clicked, you could turn it right 15 degrees and move 10 steps, and then you could have it go to 0, 0. So if it was here, it would do this, and it will turn a bit, just like that. And you could also remove that and just have it do that, and it will go in that little circle. And then we have when the space key pressed, which is the same as when the green flag clicked, except instead of clicking the green flag, you click the space key to do it. We have a when this sprite clicked, so when you click it, it could do that. We also have a when backdrop switches to a specific backdrop, which I'll explain more in a future video. When loudness is greater than 10, I'll explain more in a future video. And then there is also when I receive message 1. These are all message blocks, this one, and this one. I will explain all of those in a future video. In fact, I will probably have a whole video dedicated to messages. And then there's the control, which will wait 1 second. So let's wait 1 second between it turning right and moving. So it'll turn right and move, but it'll wait a second. And yeah. Then, after that wait, we can also do a repeat, which will repeat 10 times. When you click it, it will do that 10 times. You could also remove the delay or make it slower or anything you want. And then there's a forever loop, which will not repeat 10 times, but instead repeat forever. So it will forever do that instead of 10 times. And then we have the if-then statement, which I will explain in a future video. We have an if-then-else statement, which I will also explain in a future video. A wait until statement, I'll explain in a future video. Repeat until, I will also explain. Stop all could be, you could do this in the 10, and then you could have it stop all, just like that, so it will stop every script going. You could also do stop this script or stop other scripts in this sprite. You also have all of these clone blocks, which I will also probably explain more in a future video, but what you could do is create a clone of myself, and then when I start as a clone, you could forever turn left 15 degrees. So let's click it. So yeah, it will just create a ton of clones behind it, all turning left, as you can see. And then we have sensing, which senses stuff. So if it is touching a mouse pointer, which will be in controls, so like for example when the green flag is clicked, if touching mouse pointer, then you could point it in this direction. You could change its X by 10 or anything. If it's touching this color, if color green is touching color blue, or you could do the distance to mouse pointer, which I will explain a little bit in a second. You could ask a question, what's your name? So when space key is pressed, you could ask what's your name and wait, and then it will do this. You will click the space key. It'll ask what's your name. You could just say hello, or you could put your actual name, and then it will save that in the cloud, which I will do a little bit more in a future video. And then there is also all of these others which will show you the answer, which is hello, when the space key is pressed, when the mouse is down, and then there's a mouse X button, a mouse Y button. Set drag mode to draggable, which means that you can drag it in the game. This shows the loudness. This shows a timer, which shows how long you've had the green flag going, which resets every time you click that. You can reset the timer, which will reset it without you needing to click the green flag. And then you could do backdrop number of sprite 10 or stage or anything. And then days sense 2000. This one is very complex, and I will probably have a whole video covering this block. You can show your username, which mine is I want my BB-8. You can change that to be a little bit easier to see. Same with the timer if you double click it. And then we have operators. So operators can do day sense 20, for example. If you take that and take this, put that day sense 20 plus 1,000 or 10,000. And if we do that, then it will show you the answer, which is 18,198. We could also just click this, which is 8,198, but this adds a 1 at the start. And then we also have a minus block, which could be that minus something. We have a multiplication block, which could be that times something. Then we have a division block. Don't be alarmed by the fraction symbol, because fractions are the exact same as a division equation. And then there's a randomizer. So you could do point in direction, pick random 1 to 10. So as you can see, it's just like completely randomizing its direction. And then we have a greater than. So I showed you this when the green flag is clicked if statement, and you could do if day sense 20 is greater than 50, then change x by 10. So yeah, the days is greater than 50, but if you make this 10,000 or 100,000, then it will not move because it is not greater than that number. And then we have and, or, and not statements. So you could do not colored green is touching blue. You could do key space pressed, or key up arrow pressed for a platformer or something. And then you also have join apple banana, letter 1 of apple, length of apple, apple contains A. And these are all super complex, but this one I can show you a bit about right now. This will probably be in an advanced video. So you could do, for example, I showed you earlier with the asking questions. So you could do if answer contains H, you could put this in here. So if the answer contains H, then change X by 10. So we'll click that. And then what is your name? We'll probably show the answer as well and move this out of the way. And also we could have a delay on this as well, so we'll probably wait 5 seconds so that it doesn't miss us. So you'll click that, you will click space, do H, and then it will move because your answer contained an H. But if you do this, space, and do an L, then it will not move because it did not contain an H. And then once we go back down into here, we also have mod, round, and then we have abs, floor, ceiling, squirt, which is the square root. We have sin, cos, tan. We have azine. We have acos, atan, in, log, and then e to the power of, 10 to the power of. And yeah, that's just a ton of math stuff. So that's essentially what the operators are, just all math. And then we have variables, which could you could show my variable. You can set my variable to 1. And the really cool thing with variables is that you could do, when this sprite clicked, change my variable by 1. So you'll click that, it'll change it by 1. And then you could do, like, when the green flag is clicked, you could do forever if, and then you could do a greater than block. If my variable is greater than 10 or 25 or anything you want, then change X by 10, and that will go infinitely. So as you can see, it's not moving, but once you click it enough and once it gets to 25, it'll move infinitely, just like that. And because it needed to get to 26 before it did that, is because it's only a greater than. So you would want to grab an equal to block, So that's what the and is for. You could do greater than, or you could do, or not and, you could do the or block. You could do if my variable is greater than 50 or my variable is equal to 50, then, and yeah. Then there's also show my variable, there's hide my variable, which hides it, and then there's also lists, which I will do a video on, and make a block, which I will do a video on. But that's all for today, and I hope this tutorial on how to code for absolute beginners in Scratch helped and showed you everything you needed to know about Scratch and everything that will help you in your journey to become a Scratch game creator. But I hope this helps, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.